Welcome to Locality's Making Bank podcast, where we continue our exploration of South Florida's entrepreneurial landscape with host Keith Costello, co-founder and CEO of Locality Bank. Sit back, relax, and let South Florida visionaries guide you on an entrepreneurial journey from tribulation to triumph, sharing the very stories that have shaped them.
Tom and Traci Miller, welcome to Locality Bank's Making Bank podcast.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're really excited about having both of you on today. This is our first time that we've had two generations of entrepreneurs, of an entrepreneur family. And also, when you think about Tom Miller, Miller Construction, that's an iconic Fort Lauderdale company. It's been around for over 50 years. And I would put that in the legend of entrepreneurship category, along with some of our other really top flight guests here on the podcast. So we're really excited. And, we'll start off just where we always do with just kind of talking, Tom, about, your background. Where'd you grow up? And tell us about your family and your early days.
Be glad to do that. But first, I want to congratulate you and Drew and Corey on what you've started here, and it looks like it's going fabulous, and congratulations.
Well, thank you.
As a kid, my family moved from Chicago when I was 3 years old, and I had a great childhood. There was 5 kids, and our 2 parents. We were kind of, I'd say, a lower middle class family. Lived until I was 12 in a house that had 2 bedrooms and 1 bath for 7 people.
Wow. And that was here in Fort Lauderdale?
No, I was in Miami.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Miami, okay.
Yeah. And then we moved to a little larger house that had 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths until I went away to college. But we had a great, had a great childhood, as all of my siblings, I'm sure, did. I played Little League and Pony League.
Did you have some good fights over that bathroom?
Well, I was thinking about saying something about my older sisters hogging it, but it taught us that you had to get along with everybody. Cause it didn't always work. But Mom was a stay-at-home mom. She provided the love. Our father was a disciplinarian and wasn't afraid to take off his belt every once in a while and give you a few slaps if you needed it. So I had a great childhood. I worked, did some things. I used to collect, I go around and asked all our neighbors to save their newspapers and magazines. And every 2 weeks I'd go into their garage and pull my little wagon around and collect them all. And we had a trailer that Dad used when he had to go back to Chicago. So we'd load that up with papers and take it to a recycler. And I think we got 35 cents per 100 pounds.
Wow.
And I did some other things in the neighborhood, cut grass and all. But I didn't really realize it, but I was an entrepreneur at that time, too. Not from those jobs, because those were just jobs, but I had a paper route. And back in those days with a paper route, you had to do everything that I did in business. You had to go find customers. You had to get subscriptions. You had to pay for your papers. The guy would bring them, and once a week you'd pay for however many you had for the week. You had to go collect money at their door. You had to answer complaints yourself. Go and they say they didn't get the paper, or it hit their vase on their front porch when you threw it up there. So just all the things an entrepreneur does. So I did that till I was 12, and then we moved in this other house, and I didn't deliver papers anymore. And then went on to high school at Archbishop Curley in Miami.
Okay.
Where I played some baseball and football. I played baseball at the Boys and Girls Club down in Miami, and I've been involved with the Boys and Girls Club up here ever since. So that's kind of a picture of growing up.
And then you decided to go to college?
I did. It was funny. The girls back in those days didn't go to college. Neither one of my older sisters went to college. My older brother, Bob, was the first. He went to the University of Florida. And that's where I ended up, as did Harley, our other founder. But I didn't know I wanted to be in construction, although I had worked construction jobs during the summer for a friend of our family who built big residential down in South Miami. I was a laborer, carpenter apprentice for several summers in high school. And I started out at Florida thinking I wanted to be an attorney or an engineer. My older brother, Bob, was an engineer, went to engineering. And I didn't like that track. And I'm walking across campus one day and I see this sign on a building, a School of Building Construction. I didn't know it was there. And so I went in and found out about the courses and all and went there, and that's how I got started.
Excellent.
That's all she wrote.
And so then you pursue that field when you graduated?
I did. I worked for two large companies. The first one was in Tampa. And then they moved me to Pensacola first on a job, and then down to Coral Springs when Coral Springs had 1,000 residents.
Wow.
That was really back in the old days. And when they wanted to move me, it was a big company, a great company, but they had work all over the country, and so you kind of moved to the jobs. And Traci was a year old then, and when that job in Coral Springs was finished, they wanted me to go to Minneapolis, and we didn't want to do that. So
I can understand that.
Yeah. But they were a great company. My boss sent me a letter, said, if you ever want to come back, let us know.
That was Rooney?
No. That was J.A. Jones.
J.A. Jones,
It was
okay.
a big national company.
Okay.
And they're not around anymore, so the German company bought them 15, 20 years ago.
So you mentioned Traci, but Ginny, your wife, has been involved and been part of your business for a long time. When did you meet Ginny?
I met Ginny the sophomore year out of college. You really don't want to know the whole story, but
I can condense it.
We were on a triple date. She had a date with somebody else in the back seat with me and a girl I had a date with, and a third party was in the front seat. And I don't even remember where we were going. I think it was to a football game. And that's how I met her. And that was, I think, at Thanksgiving, my sophomore year. And when I came back for Christmas, somehow I had gotten her number and I called her. That was the beginning of great things.
Wow. And how long have you guys been married now?
Be 61 this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Got married their senior year, and I was born, 10 months later?
Yep.
In
Wow.
Keansville. Yeah.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. So you start working in the construction, and you're working at J.A. Jones, and you don't want to go up north.
Right.
I understand that. You don't want to go to Minneapolis.
Right. So I almost went to work, came very close to going to work for Coral Ridge Properties, which was developing Coral Springs at the time. I had a good relationship with the guy that was overseeing all that development. He offered me a job, but it wasn't in construction. It was more in the development. And I interviewed with Rooney, who was a large local contractor, although they did go to, where was it, Arkansas, I guess, to do some work, but mostly in Florida. And I worked for them for 3 years, and then had an opportunity to learn about some of the financing of construction. And I went to work for a company that dispersed construction funds for lenders.
Okay.
Back in those days, there weren't always contractors involved. Sometimes the developers were doing the work themselves.
Uh-huh.
The lenders wanted to make sure the money went into the project. So
Yeah.
that was our job, was to pay all the subs direct.
So you got some experience in the finance side of things.
I did. Learned a lot how banks, figure out who they want to lend to and how all that works. And actually, that was the start of how we got in business. One of the developers, a Canadian gentleman, was building a 29-story project in Pompano called Renaissance. And we were dispersing the money to it, and I got to know him. We went to lunch a couple of times. He knew about my background, and I had my GC license, which I got right away when I got out of college. And he was talking about him not being happy with the contractor who was building this 29-story building. It was almost finished. And he asked me at the time, would you be interested in building the next project? And when I was with Rooney, I'd built a couple big high-rises. And I was kind of like Richard Branson. I don't know if you ever heard the thing that he said about when you're given an opportunity and you don't think you can do it, say yes anyway and go figure it out.
That's a good one. Wow.
And that's actually what I did. I mean, I didn't know anything about banking. I didn't know anything about insurance. I didn't know anything about, human resources, but I knew how to build buildings. And so that's how we started the company.
Wow.
Then he gave us another job up in Hillsborough Beach, and that was the start of the company.
Mm-hmm. So when you started, who was it? Was it you and Harley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Harley was working for Rooney also on the West Coast, and he was single. And when he gave us the second job, I called Harley, which was just a month or two later, and said, do you want to come over here and be in business? And he said yes and came over. And so we've been partners almost from day one.
So that was 1973.
1973.
Wow. So more than 50 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be 52 this
52
year.
in March.
Wow.
Yeah.
March, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And so to do that was a great quote you gave. Really, so you had this opportunity kind of like put in front of you. Many people might have said, well, that's not for me. I don't want to take that risk. What was going through your mind at that time?
I was confident I could do the work. The unknown of the other part of it, the soft part of the business, but I just took a chance and said, let's do it.
Yeah. That's incredible. So as you got you had your first two jobs. So things start off, you're working, you're hiring people. What are some of the challenges that you experienced as a new business?
Continuing to find work. And
With the right clients.
In 73 was the start of the first recession.
Right.
In fact, one of the projects we were working on, the Bank of Chicago, Continental of Illinois.
Yeah, they failed, right? I think.
Yeah, they quit funding. And so we're on a job where no more money's coming in. The job had to stop. We weren't making any money. But an associate of this company that I was working for, dispersing the funds, knew of a group of doctors that wanted to build a building out in Plantation. And he set up a meeting with them. 6 doctors and 6 wives show up to interview me. And it wasn't a big job by any means. I don't think it was 15,000 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
Still standing.
Still standing. I went by it last night, as a matter of fact,
right
to your house. So we built that building, and I don't remember the next job or how we got them, but it was just, you're in business and you're meeting people and you find work.
So obviously over that 50 plus years, you've gone through a lot of like recessions, downturns, and you got to somehow get through those to survive. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice could you give to people who are facing those things in their businesses?
Well, as I said, the first one was in 73, and there were 2 others before 08, which the first three combined weren't as bad as the one in '08.
Right.
Our business went down 90%.
Wow.
It's like they shut off the faucet. There was just jobs we had on the books were stopped. So we had to struggle. We had to cut back on everything. Fortunately, Harley and I were fairly conservative and hanging on to the money we made, in the good years. And we were able to get through it. We kept all of our really good people and almost all of our people. We cut back on salaries, which they went along with. And when things turned around, we were in good shape to keep going. So I guess the advice is just to hunker down and do what you have to do to survive.
Well, and I think you made a good point about your brother and you having, you kept some dry powder. You weren't, living above your means. You weren't spending every nickel. You were keeping money in reserve. And I think I've heard that from a lot of people who, obviously who have made it through those times.
Right.
That's always helpful. So.
Sure.
That was actually a learning lesson for those of us, our current president CEO, who's been with Miller for 20 years, running a company, Brian Suddeth. That was a learning experience for us to go through that, because we really did learn fiscal responsibility for sure, and reinvesting in the company. And, Tom and Harley both being very conservative people. But, I remember the lessons to me, I remember asking, it was a tough week. It was a week where we cut half our staff. So I remember going into Dad in his office and just, how you doing? It was a tough week. And he said it was so hard to do, but if I didn't, they wouldn't even have a place to come back to when we do get through this. And also one of the most difficult decisions, we had a client, a very difficult client, but they were still going to do their project through this recession. And when I mean difficult, I mean unethically started changing things. I mean, we had contracts, ready to sign, and just changing, and made the decision. If we had stuck with the project, it would have been half of our revenue for that year, and made the decision to cut them loose. And when I say it was one of the best decisions we ever made, because 3 other contractors tried to work with this same client and came back to him and said, I wish I'd listened to you. But it was a tough decision.
Asked, why did you get out of it?
Yeah, they would have asked. They would have cost us a lot more than just losing the project.
That's a great piece of advice too. Is there's no good business to be done with bad people.
It's true.
And once you've identified
we want like-minded. Yeah. So that was a tough one, because none of us had really been through a true recession, and that for those of us who are all of us that are on the leadership team now, that I think about it, except maybe Pete. Were with the company at that time. So we learned really valuable lessons and use that same philosophy. We want good clients who believe in the value that we bring and that are willing to pay a premium to not have to worry about getting their project done right and well, right? So.
And Traci, so when did you start working at the company? So you're growing up with, entrepreneurial father, and also your mom was always, always saw Ginny involved in all these things in the community. So when did you start getting involved with the business?
I basically started out of necessity. I went to University of Florida as well, and I took a few construction classes, but I think it was mostly to meet the boys that were in them, if I'm being honest. But I had just gone through a divorce, and I had a 3.5 and a 2-year-old, and I needed a job. I was a stay-at-home mom to that point. And a woman who'd been with Tom and Harley from the beginning was retiring, and she was basically their office manager through their growth. Now they're at 20 years. And, I remember saying to Dad, well, why don't I be the office manager? And he said, well, okay, here, fill out this application and go meet with our CFO. So I did, and I remember sitting in the lobby next to someone else who was applying for the same job. But Michelle Vega gave me the job, and, and I just moved through various positions in the company and did a little bit of everything over the years. And then at some point when my kids were grown, of course remarried, and when my kids were grown, just said, okay, what do I want to do long term? And went to Tom and Harley and told them, what I would like to be doing. And they were like, okay, well, let's see what we can do to make that happen. So I've been there 31 years now, which I can't believe. But
and of course, Jenny was retiring along with me, and
Right.
she built all these tremendous relationships.
Right.
For sure.
Was on so many boards and raised
Right.
millions and millions of dollars for different organizations. And Tracy's fallen right in her footsteps.
Yeah.
And it's
so I do. I oversee that. Oversee all that community relations.
kind of a funny story. Back when Jenny was around doing her deal, I'd get introduced. I'd be at some event and somebody'd introduce me. If I didn't know you, they'd introduce me to you and say, "This is Tom Miller with Miller Construction." And 9 out of 10 times the response was, "Oh, you're Jenny's husband."
Right.
And now it's,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're
I'm Ginny's
Tracy's
daughter.
father."
Oh, yeah. Well, I get that, you're Ginny's daughter a lot.
Yeah. So, yeah, she was out and about and did a great job for us.
sure.
Wow. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, you so having that partnership, with your wife, she really bought into what you were doing.
Completely.
Talk about that a little bit. How important that was to you.
Well, I mean, it was very important. We're doing the work of building buildings. She's out in the community building relationships. And, we weren't doing it for that reason, but because she was out there, work came in from people that saw we were concerned citizens and wanted to, help the community. And so it was integral to our growth and all the work that she did for many years.
Yeah, and you guys have been involved in so many different. We could spend the whole podcast just rattling off
sure.
all the awards and all the things that you've led, the organizations that you've led here. Both you and Tracy and Jenny.
Oh, yeah.
Just a
Jenny
tremendous
founded
impact.
a lot of organizations, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was really important. But that was a guiding principle. We had 6 guiding principles that Tom and Harley put together, and one of them was contributing to the communities that we serve. And that was important. Most of our team were involved in something, volunteered in one way or another. We always did a United Way campaign and just wanted people to see that was important to us.
It's in the DNA of our company.
Yeah,
really.
that's a good way to say it.
And actually, my parents, while they didn't have the wherewithal to do a lot, my first introduction to something was when I was 10 years old, walking around the neighborhood with my mother, knocking on doors, asking people to contribute to an organization that morphed into United Way.
Oh, wow.
it was just something we always did.
Yeah. Well, that's really incredible. The philanthropy and those community ties are great. So you mentioned guiding principles. So no company makes it for over 50 years without having a really strong culture. What are some of the other guiding principles did you have for your?
Continuous improvement. Always, trying to improve both as an individual and what our company did. Doing the right thing. We harp on that even when no one's looking.
Right.
We had years ago. Do I have time for another little story?
Yes, I love the stories.
Years ago, I used to sign every check that went out of the office. And one day I'm sitting at my desk and a check going to this owner that we had worked for 2 years ago for, I think it was $26,000. We're writing a check to an owner that we worked for $26,000. And I went to
It's Walter Banks, actually.
to our accountant and said, "What is this?" She said, "Well, Bill approved this. It's the city reimbursed us for a building permit that they had made a mistake on calculating when we built this building 2 years ago. And our contract with the owner was a cost-plus contract where they paid us what we spent plus a fee."
Yeah.
And so Bill this reduced the cost, so he's giving it back to him. And he did that without asking. He knew that.
Wow.
That was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And funny, as I interviewed people coming into the company over the years and tell them that story, trying to show them how we operate, they say, man, the company I was with never would have done that.
Wow.
They'd have kept the money because the owner wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of thing is the culture of our company. Doing the right thing, making owners happy.
Yeah, so our core values, which, you just update, and they include an entrepreneurial spirit. So be looking for ways to improve and make us better. That's what that's about. Always take care of the client. I mean, that's our first priority. We have a filter. We don't bonus our people on, earning more on the job, right? By cutting corners, we could save a little here. The only filter is this the best thing for this project, for this client, and do that. And, and that comes full circle, right? The clients are happy. So play as a team, grow together, use the entrepreneurial spirit, and those are our core values now. So it's really a continuation. Just
the new people have changed our original ones a little bit to modernize them, which is good. But it's all the same.
It's absolutely. In fact, all the people on our leadership team, they live them. I mean, it's really why Brian's been such a great leader. They really kind of turned over the reins, the day-to-day operations in 2018.
That's when Brian took over as CEO.
He took over as president at that time, but we've upgraded him even more to president and CEO. And
that's Brian Suddarth.
Brian Suddarth.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And our growth is
phenomenal. They're doing a lot better than when I was in charge.
We've expanded throughout Florida. Opened another office, which actually we're just moving into a larger office we're double the size of it up in Orlando. It's been really successful up there.
Yeah.
Covering, Central Florida and points north.
Excellent. So the future
values,
of the business is expanding?
Oh, absolutely. I just spent 2 days with the leadership team, off-site, putting together our goals for this year. We look out 3 to 5 years, and it's exciting. It's exciting. We need that growth because we've got some superstars at our company, and they need opportunities to grow. And the only way to give them opportunities is for us to grow.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And, I've heard a lot of people say that, that when you have that kind of talent, you have to continue to grow to create those opportunities and keep people engaged.
For sure.
So that's really fascinating. 50-year-old company and still growing. And where do you see the growth primarily occurring now?
Geographically, we have all kinds of opportunities all over Florida. We will continue growing in, Tampa, Orlando, Ocala, Jacksonville. We've got work in all those places. City Furniture has a few more projects around the state. We're on our 30th project working with them, just an incredible client. And then other industrial. But in terms of sectors, really a little bit of everything. We are looking at some multifamily opportunities, which mostly South Florida. They build them a little differently in Central Florida.
Yeah.
Multifamily industrial will continue to be a great sector. We are working with incredible automotive dealerships, ownerships like Holman Automotive and Sonic. We've done work with AutoNation, so there's a lot of that going on.
So really throughout the state of Florida.
Throughout the state in many different sectors. So the opportunities are great. You never want all your eggs to be in one basket.
And talk a little bit more, because secession is a necessary thing as a company grows and obviously 50 years old. So how did you find Brian?
You climbed up on a roof and said, "We hear great things about you." That's what you did.
I don't remember the exact specifics, but he was working for a company out of Orlando. He was raised in Orlando, working for a company that was running him all over the state, from Jacksonville to Miami to the West Coast, managing more projects than a human being should be managing. It's just too many. And somebody recommended him. I don't remember the exact particulars, but we interviewed with him and brought him online, and he's just been amazing, doing a fabulous job. He's bought into our culture.
So you recruited him yourself?
Yeah. I don't think there was a...
No, there was no recruiter involved. You went and met with him, and he said it took 3 times, and when you took the risk of climbing up on a roof to talk to him about it, he figured you were serious.
Is that a true story?
That's the story he tells.
I used to go up on a lot of roofs.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
No, it wouldn't surprise me.
Waterproofing is one of the most important things on a project.
Okay.
And, I used to go up on every roof as it was being built. I had worked for a roofer while I was in college, doing some estimating for him, but it was just important that we don't have any water problems. So it was one of my pet peeves that I always watched very carefully. Yeah, but Brian's doing a great job.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah, he's put together a great team as well.
So, incredible story. Anything else that you would like to share before we go to the lightning round? Any advice, particularly for
entrepreneurs? Well, I guess just follow your passion would be my advice. Don't be impatient. It takes a while to build things. If you don't succeed at first, just keep going. That's, I think, probably what most entrepreneurs do. They don't always make it on the first try, but keep going.
Great. Well,
choose your partner wisely.
Choose partners wisely.
From the outside looking in, I think both your spouse and your business partners.
And your clients. I mean, it's important
for sure.
to have good clients that respect what you do and appreciate what you do and want you to make a few bucks. That's what we've always been able to find, those type clients. And we're very thankful for them.
All right, so now we're going to go into the lightning round, and we'll hear from both of you. So these are just quick answers to some questions. Tom, do you have a favorite book?
Not a favorite book. I, of course, read all kinds of business books when I was active. Now I follow Reacher. If you know who Reacher is, Lee Childs writes, his character is Reacher.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of nonfiction reading now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And how about you?
Fiction reading.
Fiction, yeah. How about you, Traci?
I actually do a lot of mystery reading when I want to relax, but almost anything John Maxwell. We've worked through a lot of John Maxwell books, and it feels like common sense, but it's not so common, as the saying goes, but it's just good earth is John Maxwell. So I enjoy his books.
Are great.
Yeah, they're
I
fantastic.
Yeah,
he is great.
So this will be interesting. So what about a song that you is like your theme song?
I guess if we had to have one, it would be "We Are Family." But I don't know. I don't really.
That's a good one.
Favorite songs,
especially with all the family members you get in your business.
But businesses, they can't be a family per se, but they can certainly have family type
relationships.
Sure. And so I guess that would be it.
All right. How about you, Traci?
Honestly, it's our national anthem. I'm a very patriotic person. And when I hear it, man, when I listening to Carrie Underwood belt that out the other day with no music, it just brings tears to my eyes. I love this country, and I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, I love our national anthem.
What's the best piece of advice you ever got, Tom?
Personal-wise, probably when I took Jenny to meet my parents, my father said after she left, "Don't let this one go." Business-wise, I can't really think of any. Why don't you go? Maybe I'll think of something.
Well, it was actually advice from you. We were in the car, and I was complaining about something. And you said, what are you doing about it? And I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing about it? I'm telling you about it. I'm complaining about it. And you said, well, do something about it or quit complaining. And that, you don't realize, you catch yourself. I would catch myself complaining. And from that moment on, I just stopped complaining about it and do something about it or shut the heck up. That's kind of what he said.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It served me well.
So if you could have dinner with any person, living or dead, who would it be?
I read Ben Franklin's biography maybe 10, 15 years ago. I mean, he was involved in the writing of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. He was an inventor. He was a writer. He was a diplomat. And I'd love to have him to dinner and say, what do you think about what's going on today? See what,
Wow.
if they could have even thought of, what they were doing back then, how it would apply to today.
Yeah, that's a good one. How about you, Traci?
I don't want this to be cliche, but I wouldn't want it to be the Last Supper, but I really would enjoy breaking bread and drinking wine with Jesus.
Wow. Yeah.
And, what was his life like? Like, what was it really like to be doubted all the time, to be, made fun of, and just keep going, just Tom's advice, just keep going. He had a job to do. And
absolutely. Tom, what's your favorite local restaurant?
Wow. There's so many in Lauderdale. It's unbelievable. I mean, but the one we've probably gone to most is Bistro Mezzaluna right on 17th Street.
That's what I picked for you.
Yeah. Part of it was convenience. It was close by, but it was always great food.
Yeah. Traci, how about you?
I know it's weird. I like Fat Boy. It's a Thai and sushi, and they've opened up so many shops, one near me now, near my house too, so they're good.
So what are you doing now to stay active, Tom?
Well, I play pickleball at least 4 times a week.
Wow.
In the morning, I work out and do cardio at least 3 times a week. And I'm just active in our community.
Great. No, you look like you're staying healthy and active and fit.
Traveling a lot.
That's great.
Trying to eat well.
Good.
It's hard.
Right. That is hard.
And how about you, Traci? What are you doing?
Well, I stay pretty active.
Yeah.
My husband and I like to do a lot of things. We're traveling a lot now.
Yeah.
And now with the grandson, we'll go wherever we can to, see the kids, because none of them are local. So traveling a lot,
Yeah.
I think, is what we're doing.
And from, I would say, the last question, which is, how can people get in touch with you and your company?
Well, our company's website is millerconstruction.com. And I think all my contact information is still on there.
Oh, yeah. And I'm everywhere. LinkedIn. Find me LinkedIn, call the front desk.
You guys are not hard to find.
No, we are not hard to find.
Miller is a well-known company here in South Florida, and we're really honored to have you guys as our guests today. Thank you for coming in and sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really honored.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Locality's Making Bank podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to catch the latest episodes, and visit localitybank.com today to learn more about all the benefits of banking local.